You're listening to InfoVerity's Trust Us podcast, where you can gear up for your data management journey with bite-sized discussions on industry trends and thought leadership. On each episode, we'll feature industry experts to help you navigate your path to mastering your enterprise data. Today, we'll be talking about the strategy behind any successful enterprise data management initiative. As we've described in previous episodes, one of the cornerstones of any enterprise data management journey is effective road mapping and goal setting. But how do we develop effective roadmaps, goals, and methods for achieving those goals? These are the essential questions that we strive to answer by providing thought leadership and solutions to help your company effectively plan for the short term, long term, and everything in between. On this week's episode, we're joined by Grace Flores, who will walk us through some critical aspects of enterprise data management strategy, including where to start, what to look for, and how to effectively plan for the future. Thank you for joining us, Grace.
Hello. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here and also to be chatting with two of my favorite colleagues at InfoVerity.
Well, thank you so much, Grace. Yeah, we're really excited to have you here with us today. Could you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself? Give a little intro.
Sure. Well, let me just start by saying that I'm a huge advocate of strategy. I think to some, strategy might sound fluffy, but if it's well done, i.e. actionable, it really is the backbone to a successful investment that supports organizations in achieving their business goals. And a little bit about myself. So at InfoVerity, I work on enterprise data strategies and implementation engagements. This means that I align our technical team's design and development with what our client's business requires. My experience spans across management as well as tech consulting with global enterprises and managing cross-functional teams. So I do bring a holistic perspective from a people, process, and tech perspective, which is also very satisfying as I get to see it all the way through to execution and ultimately really see the impact that it creates for our client's business.
That's right. And it all starts with this strategy that we're going to discuss here today. So excited that you're here, Grace. Thank you again for joining us. Let's start by talking about enterprise data strategy. It's such a broad topic. We also know, though, that effective data strategy is going to establish the essential framework that's needed to successfully embark on the large-scale enterprise-wide data transformation journey that you described. Because this is so critical to every aspect of that journey, what I'd love to hear in your own words is what effective enterprise data management strategy means to you and some of the critical aspects of a complete enterprise data management strategy.
Sure. And as you said, it's a very broad topic. It's something that even within this podcast, there's probably lots of rabbit holes that we can kind of go into, but essentially, in my opinion, an effective enterprise data management strategy has to be purposeful, actionable, as well as aligned. So let's just kind of break those down into the critical aspects of each. Purposeful, starting with that, any kind of strategy must really tie to a desired business outcome with a clear business case. The business case has to justify any investment that you make to have your people work on it, your process to be changed or refined, or a particular technology to be purchased. This then leads to a well-defined scope with the appropriate solution and right-sized team to set that into motion. So speaking of motion then, the second aspect of it has to be actionable. There has to be a plan on how you will achieve it. We're talking about roadmaps with specific initiatives, work streams, and stakeholders involved. Any kind of informed strategy should also have success measures tied to it. A lot of people talk about ROI, which is great, but that can only be measured in the future. So one thing that we really stress in InfoVerity is having measures along the journey. A great operational metric, for example, that contributes to the long-term ROI is really assessing how say, complete or rightly formatted is the data coming in from a source after you have set up, say, an data management platform. So being able to say to stakeholders and to leadership that, hey, this improved from 50% to 80%, and then ultimately that brings us into the long-term goal or ROI of a future state, that helps paint the story along the journey. That also helps change management and influence with different stakeholders within the organization who is acting on that change. And then finally, aligning, which I've kind of touched already. So a lot of strategies fail because stakeholders are misaligned. So ultimately, we're all humans, right? Ultimately, people are the ones executing the strategy. Whoever owns the process, really, whoever you need to help influence change needs to be brought in at a very early stage in the decision-making process so that we can get alignment and the whole process is way more impactful.
That's some really excellent insight, Grace. And I think the picture is starting to become a bit more clear, but I think we're still lacking a bit of clarity on the specific and actionable pieces of these aspects to data strategy. What are some key approaches that you would recommend taking to succeed at achieving most effectively some of the strategic aspects that you just mentioned?
Sure, Taylor. So why don't we break down the big words that I just mentioned by providing an actual example of how we typically approach these at InfoVerity. So let's take the example of a global company whose business goal is to increase their marketing efforts and turn existing customers into loyal ones. Very common situation, right? So to do this, they need to form a trusted and accurate picture of each customer's demographics, contact information, and spending patterns. Now, let's throw in some spanners in the works, which are very typical because, you know, life is not perfect and we're often thrown in situations whereby a business is transforming, etc. by let's introduce some business challenges into here. So let's say this company, the way that they do their growth strategy is that they acquire companies, which means that they inherently acquire various ERPs with differently structured customer data. And they don't currently have one platform for ingesting all of these data. Business challenge number 2, let's also say they are in very early stages of setting up analytics. So while they are tactically focusing on operational reports, they might want to be able to see and use a single view of the customer to string together spending patterns and behaviors for downstream consumers, such as the sales or the go-to-market teams. Now, to your point earlier, Taylor, how will a strategy engagement approach this? Now, we typically start with discovery and scoping sessions with leadership, business, and technical subject matter experts who are part of the data creation, management, and consumption process. Oftentimes, starting with the end goal of understanding what the data will be used for and why creates clarity and alignment on the initiatives and requirements. So, bringing it back to the example, if the go-to-market team provides the use case of wanting to know what is the spending pattern based on demographics to improve marketing efforts, this could translate to the following requirements. Requirement number 1, maybe they want to ensure that each customer demographic record and contact information are accurate. They might want to set up a data warehouse to pull data sets from different sources for analytics purposes. And as you might expect from this use case, there will be multiple stakeholders involved. So really understanding their current process, challenges, and their opinion of what could solve the issues is really critical at an early stage to enable alignment and change management efforts down the line. Now, I know kind of running a bit long here, however, just wanted to also introduce the idea of the next stage, right? So following discovery, we start to develop an idea of the future state, the roadmap, as well as initiatives underlying that. So again, bringing it back to the example, two initiatives might come from the above use case. First initiative could be that given that there are multiple ERPs at play, with no one system for consolidation, we may recommend a master data management platform that will help structure, standardize, clean, and merge customer records together to provide a single trusted view. In parallel, we may recommend a data governance initiative driven by people and process to ensure that the way that the data is ingested into the ERPs going forward is complete, valid, and in the right format. So you see how these two interchangeable and related initiatives really take a holistic approach to achieving the organization's go-to-market efforts. And because at InfoVerity, we do both strategy and implementation, we are able to really anticipate as well as mitigate for any risks when developing a roadmap.
I think that makes a lot of sense, Grace. And putting your business goals first, I think, is something that at InfoVerity we prioritize regardless of the type of initiative. But tell me this, the example that you gave it sounds like a very large company who is very invested in making sure that we're making the right investments upfront and all of those things. However, I'm also confident that we can provide options for companies that are maybe looking to start off a little bit smaller. Can you talk to me about some of the approaches that we would take to right size how we're working with a client to develop a data strategy?
Sure. And I think, the right size solution can really mean different things to everybody, meaning that there is no real one size fits all, as you kind of alluded to already, Jocelyn. Instead, I would really challenge clients to think about what the solution means for their business and really start from there. So we talk about scalability, flexibility, maintainability, and then who and what needs to be involved to execute, which then raises the question on everyone's mind, right? Like, how much will it cost me? And what it really comes down to, if the investment is fit for purpose, then it is a really good investment to make. As I said earlier, this is where metrics come in, and breaking down a roadmap into consumable chunks to spread costs in, say, you have a 3-year roadmap, you want to really segment that and break that down so that it's measurable along the way, so that you can spread your investments along the way. And then in a very iterative approach or manner, you're kind of measuring, seeing if it justifies the next phase of work. And that really is the crucial aspect to achieving the right size solution. But if we do take a perspective, let's say we take the perspective of a solution from a technology platform perspective, definitely to your point, Jocelyn, earlier, perhaps a large global enterprise that has multiple locations or geographies, who is very, very big, might not have as big of an investment appetite as one that, say, just has a domestic market, right? Like, just to give an example. So it then also comes down into how much budget that company has. So the way that you kind of size the solution or how you tackle your strategy could also be defined by looking at how much budget you have to begin with and kind of starting from there and working your way backwards. But the principles, the key principles that we've been discussing throughout this time, they should all be applicable and relatable to any kind of enterprise or business, however big or small.
Thank you, Grace. Those are some really excellent insights there. And it sounds like engaging in this strategic journey is going to affect quite a few users, and managers of data across the entire enterprise. So another question for you, what kind of role does change management play in creating and implementing effective data management strategy?
Huge. It's in fact really, really crucial in ensuring an effective strategy, because at the end of the day, like I think we mentioned earlier, people are going to be the ones who will be executing whatever solution it is, right? Like whether it's a change in process, whether it's an organizational change, whether it's standing up a new piece of technology, they will be the ones who will be advocates for the path forward and also users of the process as well as that technology itself. So at InfoVerity, we really try and do change management from the very beginning when we bring together multifunctional stakeholders in requirements gathering workshops, all the way through to development, testing, and then handing over of the program back to the client. The key here is really to bring these stakeholders who may have different perspectives to the table. And that ensures that we're not building or talking through a solution in our own respective bubbles. And this is beneficial because one, they may learn something from another person that they might not know about in the company, and or they might be able to iron out any challenges with a particular solution by bringing in their experience. So ultimately, it really is a win-win. It might sound difficult and challenging. However, for the long term, it's really for the benefit of the organization.
This has been really good insight, Grace. And if I had to summarize, I would maybe describe it as this. You tell me if you think that this resonates with you. Data strategy is the foundation for the rest of your enterprise data management journey. And it also helps you to justify the investments that you need to make along the way. The plan that you establish with your data strategy really must be actionable, measurable, and aligned with business objectives. There are several key approaches to making a plan actionable, but it all really needs to boil down to what business objective you're trying to achieve. So in the example that we discussed, how are we instilling customer loyalty and trust using quality data? There's also an aspect of developing this plan whereby we need to make sure that it's right-sized. And that doesn't change the principles on which we're acting, but it can affect how we approach or the budget to the initiatives that we're going to undergo. And then finally, change management is critical to making sure that whatever data strategy is established has longevity and sustainability across the entire life cycle of your enterprise data management journey. Guess, does that resonate with you? Do you think that I missed any key points that we covered today?
No, you summarized that very well, Jocelyn.
Yes, thank you so much, Grace. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about data strategy. I think a lot of our listeners are going to benefit from the insights that you shared, and I hope that we get to talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Grace.
For more than a decade, InfoVerity has been established as an industry-leading consultancy specializing in solving enterprise data management business problems with best-in-class technical solutions. Our firm has consultants located around the globe with headquarters in Columbus, Ohio and Valencia, Spain. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help you, please visit our website at infoverity.com. We've also included additional contact information in the show notes.